Welcome back, guys. So what we're going to be looking at today is more about annuities, but specifically what the present value means. And we'll go through how to use present value tables and obviously how to do present value questions. All right, so let's just start off with what is a present value of an annuity. So we heard the word present value from the compound interest formula, the PV, and we so far have learned that it means the principal or the initial amount. So those two are kind of interchangeable. Okay, so here's the technical definition. So the present value of an annuity is the value of the annuity at the present time, so right now, taking into account the time value of money. So I'll explain what the time value of money is in 1 second, but let me just give you a quick recap on what an annuity is. So remember, an annuity is regular deposits into an investment in the goal of getting more money at some future date. There are some technicalities to it, so you can have an annuity in terms of a loan, so you can be doing it in terms of repayments, and we'll go through that later on in this video. Okay, so what is the time value of money? Well, here's a hypothetical that I'd like you to think about. Would you rather $1,000 today or $1,000 in a year's time? Would it make a difference? So pause the video for a second and have a think about what you think the best option is. All right, so we're back now, and well, what was your conclusion? So which would you rather? Well, the time value of money tells us that you should always take the money now if the values are the same. So why is that? So to put simply, money today can be used to be invested to make more money in the future. So in our example here, you can, if I give you $1,000 today, you can straight away go and invest that, even just in a bank account that's going to give you a little bit of interest. Whereas $1,000 in a year's time, well, that's not going to grow because I'm not going to give you the $1,000 until 1 year later. So that is called the time value of money. Okay, so why is this important? So just want you to delineate here. We've got this idea of money now, so the present, and the money in the future. Okay. So remember, annuity is a series of many deposits. The future value of an annuity is what all those deposits are worth in the future. So if you watch the video of future value and annuities, you will have learnt that summing all those deposits is our future value. Okay, so the present value of annuity just tells us that what is that future value worth in today's money given the same interest rate and the same period. Okay, so what is that future value worth now in today's dollars? Okay, so hopefully you watched the video on future value, and we looked at this example where I asked you to invest $1,000 each year at 5% interest compounded yearly. And in the end, you get $5,801.92. So that was our future value. Okay. Now, all the present value asks is, we'll go into that in a second. I just want you to imagine this next scenario. So imagine you live on planet Annuity and you have an able twin that lives on planet Compound. Okay, so two different places. Now, on planet Annuity, you're only allowed to invest in annuities. So you can only invest in things where you invest regularly at certain time periods. Okay, now your evil twin who lives on planet Compound can only invest using compound interest. So in other words, he can only invest one lump sum of money and then just leave it. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you to repeat the same condition, so $1,000 per year for 5 years at 5% compounded annually. And your twin also gets those same conditions with respect to the time, so 5 years, and also the compounding rate, which is 5% per annum. Now, we learnt that our future value on planet Annuity sums up to $5,801.92. So that's the future value of your investment. Now, what about your twin? So your twin, we need to work out how much he would have to invest in order to get the same future value as us, which is, as you can see on the left-hand side there, 5,801.92. Okay, well, how do we do this? So remember, circling back to what I mentioned at the start, we've seen PV before, and that comes from this formula here, the compound interest formula. Now we know what our future value is, and we know what our rate is, and also our n. So I'm just plugging it into the formula just like that. Now doing a bit of algebra and a bit of rearranging, your next step should look like this. Just moving the brackets to the other side by dividing. And finally, our present value is $4,545.96. So in other words, 4,545.96 in today's money is equivalent to 5,801.92 in 5 years, given the same interest rate, so 5%, and given the time period of 5 years. So that is what present value means. Okay, so this is important. For almost all annuity questions, you won't need to use a compound interest formula. So don't do it. Just like in the future value section, you really shouldn't need to use the compound interest formula unless it specifically asks. There is a present value table that simplifies all the calculations, and knowing this is the most important skill. So like there's a future value table, there is also a present value table. So why have I gone all this way to explain what the present value is because conceptually, it's definitely going to help you hit those harder questions, which will be worth more marks, or at least guarantee you that you have some idea of what you're doing when those hard questions come. Okay, so we're going to look at some examples in the next video, so make sure you check that out.